Now time for the 7 things you'll be talking about today. Number 7.
All right, they finally wrote the article that everyone's been asking about quietly. What happens if both of these candidates die? Like, what happens if one of them dies? Okay, what happens if a president... Stop wishful thinking. What happens if a presidential candidate dies? Well, the answer is, quote, it's complicated. Okay, that's the answer. But here's the simple way to look at it, because they did write the article, and I read it, and I thought it was great. But let's talk a little bit about what exactly happens here. If they die before the conventions, then the delegates are generally free to do whatever the hell they want. They can come in and they can just say, okay, I want Nikki Haley, or I want Mitt Romney, or I want, Donald Trump Jr. for some reason. You can just say whatever you want. But if they die after you have a situation where they're already on the ballots are printed, the ballots stay the same, and then the conventions or the committees pick who the nominees will be.
Number 6.
Over 150 shots were fired outside of a business in Birmingham early Sunday at 2 a.m. And the quote by the police is absolutely insane. Wait till you read this quote at the end of this. There was the death of one man at play here, injuries to 6 others. 2 arrests were made after 2 men were in the act of dumping guns. A lot happening in that scene. A lot happening. It unfolded around a Shell, Burger King, AutoZone, and Express Oil Change and tire engineers, with multiple vehicles and a nearby business being hit by gunfire, according to police, who also added, quote, are you ready for this? Listen to this quote. We know this area is always busy, and it's kind of a festive weekend, Cinco de Mayo and all. And we just think that people were out because it was a nice Saturday night. Something happened that led to over 150 rounds being fired. Oh, yes. Something happened. Wonder what it was. By the way, 2 a.m. is not a nice Saturday evening. Okay, let's please stop.
Number 5.
U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican out of Georgia, still planning on moving forward on attempting to oust House Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, this comes after guys like U.S. Representative Bob Good, a Republican of Virginia, and United States Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican out of Texas, are calling out Greene's moves as bad for the GOP and bad for President Donald Trump. Yes, they're trying to convince her that this is bad for Donald Trump, so maybe she'll stop doing what she's doing. She doesn't seem to care. But the knives are out for her. They've had enough of her making all this noise. And House Democratic leaders, I don't know why they're doing this. And maybe they're lying about this. I don't know. But they say they will kill the effort to remove Mike Johnson, ensuring that Mike Johnson is not going to be removed, but also ensuring more fighting in the Republican caucus and from the Republican base. Just pure chaos for no reason.
Number 4.
I've talked to you about the Lake and Riley Act a lot here. Alabama Republican Party Chairman John Wall expressed his surprise, as well as mine, that this bill has not been passed. And it won't be voted on before the legislative sessions end. They've made plenty of noise about this. Now, the bill about allowing illegal immigrants to go to school here in Alabama, college, university, well, that is pretty much dead as well, we've learned. But still, this bill was introduced in response to an abduction and murder of Lake and Riley by an illegal immigrant at the University of Georgia. It's about border security. It's about immigration enforcement. And it's just so weird that none of this is being done and taken care of on the federal level. And when you get the opportunity on the state level, they don't do it.
Number 3.
While the bill about gambling is still languishing in the Alabama State Senate, which, by the way, I say languishing. I'm not sure that's what's actually happening. I think it's already dead because I killed it months ago. But it continues to try to come back, and I still think it's dead. State Senator Arthur Orr, a Republican out of Decatur, made it clear that those opposing the bill are not being moved by some of the attacks on them and their person. And I don't know if you've seen this, but it's been pretty pathetic, if you ask me. We talked about it last Friday. You had Donald Trump Jr. coming in. You have others, including different political operatives around the state, making different attacks. And all it's doing is entrenching the no votes as no votes and pissing people off. So, yeah, they've done a great job here, guys. You're really moving the needle. Excellent work.
Number 2.
Campus chaos. Calling for a ceasefire ignores the fact that Hamas never wanted the ceasefire, and now they have officially rejected a ceasefire in order to keep the war going after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to resist international pressure to halt the war. And while Israel is now sitting here making the argument that, hey, we need to continue this fight, they've closed its main crossing point for delivering aid to Gaza after a Hamas attack. Because now, in the middle of all this, Hamas attacks a border crossing and kills 3 soldiers. They were also shooting at this ridiculous pier we built to bring in aid as well. So things are going well. The talks mediated by Egypt and Qatar faced additional challenges as this whole thing is a complete mess, and it's only going to get worse.
Now, time for the number 1 thing you'll be talking about today.
Give our United States senators credit for at least coming up with an idea that I think is interesting. This idea is great. Alabama's U.S. senators, Britt out of Montgomery, Tommy Tuberville out of Auburn, both Republicans, are co-sponsoring a bill called No Bailouts for Campus Criminals Act, which it's not even a good acronym. They don't got a whole thing here. They just called the No Bailouts for Campus Criminals Act, sponsored by Senator Tom Cotton out of Arkansas. It would prevent students convicted of crimes related to campus protests from receiving student loan forgiveness. Britt emphasized that students are disrupting campus environments and should face consequences. She's right. Here's what she said. When students disrupt campus learning environments by choosing to break the law, they should face real-world consequences. One of those consequences should be that American taxpayers aren't going to pick up their tab. I don't disagree with any of this. There is a massive problem with this, though. There's a massive problem with this particular piece of legislation. What has happened to every kid that has been arrested that was a student? What's happened to them? They've all gone to these police stations, and then they've been released with no real charges. That's what's happening here. It's one of the reasons why they're choosing to focus on the outside agitator angle of this. What they want to do is make it appear that no college students were involved in this, that it was all just outside guys, dirty hippies, and all these other people from outside the school, and not necessarily the people who go to the schools. But I like what they're doing. I like what Britt and them are saying. I don't think the bill passes, and I surely you think you're going to have a hard time finding convicted students who get convicted of crimes. I just think you're going to have a hard time doing that. But I support what they're doing. I support what they're doing. You can jump in here and voice your opinion right here, right now. It is always very, very easy. All you have to do is pick up the phone. QC Connect's free speech phone lines, 866-494-WVNN. You can also jump in on the scoutpestcontrol.com WVNN hot take text line at 925-494-WVNN. And you can email us, Dale at WVNN.com as well. Lots of ways to get in there. So take advantage of that right now. And we will take a quick break and be right back with more.
Get WVNN's Dale Jackson's 7 Things You Should Be Talking About Today right in your email box every morning. Go to yellowhammernews.com and sign up today.